All right, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to weld thin metal. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm marking each little weld section, and I have a backing plate behind there that you'll see in the picture, and that stops the weld from blowing through. Now we're gonna weld this up. Because it's thin, having the brass backing plate makes it so much less likely to blow through. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the backing plate in there each time, and then I'm marking it so I know exactly where I'm at. And then once I do that, then I can just stitch weld that little part in. And I go through and you do that. You cool each one individually because you don't want to get this warping. And then I'll go back and I'll grind all this nice and smooth. But you'll see that, and then we can basically make it a nice seamless transition. Then we can kind of hammer and dolly it too to make it nice and basically the original shape, and we'll never know it. When he shines the light through, I can see where it's at. It just makes it a lot easier to see because there's such a tight gap. It just makes it a lot easier to see. Also, whenever you're welding, I like to wear cotton because it doesn't burn as bad. Like my shoes, I'm not wearing my welding boots, so I'm just wearing my tennis shoes today. And so slag just burns right through this stuff. Welding boots, they're really valuable. All right, go ahead and hit that with the air hose. That should be good. All right, go ahead and put it somewhere else. Now you want to make sure that you're not overheating the panel. If you have air, you can use an air nozzle like this and kind of cool it off. But if you don't have that, you can always use just a wet rag. You should be able to put your hands on it, and it shouldn't be hot really to you. You know, then if it's like that, you're good to go. This is a little bit warm here, so we're gonna pull this off. Still pretty warm. I would say go back, you know, wherever. Right there. I'm gonna shine the light. Here we go. Perfect. And what he's doing is he's moving that around, and I'm marking it so I can see. Makes it a lot easier. It was over there. You know, this thing had a little bit of damage here, so that's why we replaced just the lower portion instead of replacing the entire rear quarter panel. But it's going to be beautiful. It's definitely worth doing. This doesn't cost too much money. All it costs is time. And what I'm doing is basically putting a bunch of little spot welds. So I'm also taking a little bucket and I put it in there to kind of cool it off, which helps make it nice and cool. Now I'm going to move it to a different location. There we go. It's going to be right there. Now with the light, I'll be able to see that. You can't really see in the video, but with the light behind it, I can see exactly where it's dark. So it's basically right there. And now I'll weld those little stitches there. So it makes it pretty straightforward. And we just keep doing that through the whole thing. This is an exaggerated case of welding because normally you don't have to do this long of a weld, but we wanted to keep as much of the original metal as possible. All right, we'll go ahead and cool that off. All right, it's been well bad up there.
About right there?
Yes, sir. Perfect. Thanks, Walt. Just make it nice and tight. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, that should be good. So you can do this yourself. You know, it's not like you can't, just to be clear. It's just easier with somebody. So now that I know what this is, I'm gonna put a mark here. I like to mark it just because my memory isn't nearly as good as I like to think it is. And what I have, so I'll show you what it is you're putting this magnet on here like this, and this part here is pressing against the metal. And as you tighten this, it makes this go tighter down there. But as you loosen it, you know, you want to just basically make it to where it's nice and snug against the metal, to where there's no gap. You don't want it out here, because then if you do that, then you're not gonna have a tight weld. You know, that's the whole purpose of it, is to basically put metal against there, so the wire has nothing to go through. And as you tighten this, it stays there. So now you have a nice tight fit. You can pick this up at anywhere. I think I got this one at Harbor Freight, but you can get it like at most of your stores. I can put a link in the description. You can get it. It's really pretty cool. Yeah, this one is called VIM. And I honestly don't know where I got it. I probably got it at Harbor Freight, but like I said, you can also buy them at like Lowe's or Home Depot, or most any place where they sell welding supplies, because they're a godsend. This little face right here, this face is brass, because when you weld with when you're welding steel doesn't stick to brass, so it's not going to weld it. You know, if this was steel, you would just be welding it together. So it makes a nice clean weld. All right, so now that I believe I have it completely sanded, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind down this stuff, and that'll kind of let me see if there are any spots that I didn't quite weld down fully. You know, that's kind of the beauty of it. So this is like 36 grit, kind of standard grinder stuff that I use. And let's go ahead and grind it out. All right, so this is already kind of smooth. So we're gonna go ahead and take this off and put another one on there already. And like I said, we want to make sure that it doesn't get too hot. All right, so now that I've got this kind of ground down, I can feel like I can start tapping this back to the original shape now. I feel like this area here is a little bit in, so we're going to tap that out. And you're going to use a hammer, and you can use a dolly whenever we start to get kind of close. All right, so there's the dolly. All right, there we go. Now it's nice and smooth. Now I'm gonna go ahead and mark all these holes and spot all those holes in. Putting the light behind the panel, if you can get access to it, really shows you the holes clearly. I can see that there's a hole here, 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 and that finishes up those. And then we'll move down. You can see there's a hole here, but what I need to do is I need to move the whole thing. I need to make sure that's not a hole. I'm going to assume that that is a hole, and those two there, just to be safe. And then this right here. And then after we weld those up, what we'll do is we'll move the light and we'll go down there and finish that up. And then we grind it and we're all done finally. Pretty straightforward stuff. You know, once you do it a few times, once you do this kind of stuff a few times, like it really gets easier and easier. I think over years, you know, one of the things that makes it really easy is making sure that your cut is accurate. I didn't get to show that because I had already done that on another trip to my buddy's house. So the way that I find the easiest way to do that, let me show you. For me, what I've found is that people try and do it wrong, and they try to basically make these things, try to make a line here and cut it. So what I do is I intentionally overlap like this, just to kind of exaggerate it. So if you can see that, let me see, how's that? You can see it like this, right? I think it'd be easier if I show you like this. Okay, so instead of trying to make these two line up like this, what I do is I overlap it, and then I'll take and I'll cut the two sheets together at the same time. And you can either do that with a very fine blade or with a body saw. Body saws are very accurate, but they're a lot slower. So you want to get a really, really thin blade and cut them both at the same time. And because they're overlapped, whenever they do fall in place, it is extremely tight. And I found that that basically creates the perfect gap to use the little nuts that pull the panel together. Let me show you those so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what these are is they allow you to slide in to two sheets like this. And then on the back side, what you do is you put this here like this, which allows you to kind of go behind the scenes like this, and then you tighten this up, and what that does is that pulls those laps, pulls those things perfectly tight together, and as you tighten them, and then it makes the perfect gap to me for welding. For me, I find it's the perfect gap. And then you tack it all, and then you loosen this up. I'm gonna try to hold these together to show you. You loosen this up, and then that allows you to slide this piece right here out, and then that slides. And it's pretty cool what it does. Anyway, so that part I did on a previous trip. You essentially slide it between the two sheets. You go on the other side and you pull this up here like this, which gives a nice little gap, and then you tighten it up with this, which pulls those together and locks those panels together. You can either use these or Clecos. Clecos are for a different type of situation, but when it comes to aligning and realigning stuff, when it comes to welding, this is a great thing for butt welding sheets together, because you can easily just loosen this up, and then this slides out, and then this pulls out, and now you've got to weld it up like what we got today. All right, let's get back to welding and grinding. All right, we have those welded up. Let me go ahead and grind those down. Let me cool this off first. Because even though we have the panel all welded, we really want to keep the right temperature on the panel. Move the light on the inside, we can see. Now we'll grind out this last little bit and we'll be good to go. All right, so there were some little spots, and what I did is I welded them on the inside so it wouldn't really make any kind of surface stuff. So let's just grind this down a little bit, and then we'll hit it with 80 grit. Now this is still the what is it, 60 grit? Yeah, 40 grit. This is still the 40 grit flap wheel. I would grind it down a little bit more, but honestly this is our last flap wheel and I wanted to show what this looks like sanded right. So I'm gonna get my sander real quick. You can hand sand this if you want to, you can do all that, but yeah, I like to use power tools. They're just so much faster, so much easier. So you can try that. Do whatever works best for you. Let me get my sander. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is my Mirka, and I tell you what, if you're not a professional, I would not recommend getting Mirka. They're pretty pricey, but they are phenomenal. But if you're not a professional, just go get something from Home Depot. They work just as good. They're not as nice. All right, let's go ahead and sand this 80 grit. Turn it on. And there you go, almost perfectly smooth panel that we welded in no time. You can see how to do this now, and it's pretty straightforward. I think you should definitely do it. Hopefully I gave you enough information that you can do this, that you can conquer this, and you feel confident in doing that. It's just a matter of repetition, repetition, repetition. You get better at all this stuff. I showed you all the tools. I'll make another list at the end there in the comments. So I'll make a list in the description for all the tools if you can't seem to find them locally. I do make money whenever you buy from my affiliate links. It's a small percentage, usually around 3%. It's just standard like affiliate link kind of stuff. So it's not like I make a ton of money, but it does help motivate me to make videos. So it's a little something, you know, it's cool. I got some giveaways coming up soon, and hopefully you'll like those. So we'll see. Got some products coming in the next week or two. You'll see them in my videos. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Hey, if you like this content, if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to my channel. I try to make content every week. Have a great day.